A lot to talk about tonight. This could have been a sleepy, boring kind of, ho-hum game. Spurs are the Spurs, and they're missing people. And it honestly should have been a sleepy, ho-hum, boring game. Celtics are fully loaded, locked and loaded here with their, full complement of players, and it looked like it was going to go that way. And then the Celtics just came out and friggin' stopped playing basketball in the second half. Stopped doing pretty much everything they were doing in the first half, and let the Spurs in the game. And some questionable decisions late by Joe Mazzulla, and some hero work from Rob Williams. So a lot going on, a lot to talk about. But Bobby, where do you want to start? I mean, obviously easy to start at the end here. The two things that stood out to me the most: getting Rob Williams back on the game was the right idea, which is what Joe did. Getting him into the game and then leaving Derek White as the point guard, removing Malcolm Brogdon, seemed really silly to me. And I think the Celtics paid for it, and I think they barely got away with it, thanks to that mad scramble possession where Tatum could have gotten called for a foul, ends up with a Derek White alley-oop to Robert Williams. Thank God that's how that possession ended up. But it was hero ball down the stretch because there was no Brogdon in there anymore. It didn't make sense to me. He was playing a great game with Marcus Smart. It had gone down on defense. And then, Rob with that alley-oop dunk, and then Rob just locks up Romeo. That defensive possession there for the Spurs when they were trying to get a bucket to tie it late was an absolute mess. And the Celtics kind of got away with a victory there, but they got in their own way in a couple of different ways tonight.
Yeah, Andrew Perkins was talking about it throughout the game in terms of the minute allocation. It doesn't make a ton of sense.
Perk's my spirit animal, by the way. He said everything in this broadcast that I've been saying on this show for the last, last couple of weeks. Like, what are we doing here? I love it. They even had the pace. Thank God. They even had the producers put on the screen Perk's keys to the game, and the second one is keep Rob in. was his second one.
I mean, it's crazy. They extend Malcolm Brogdon longer than they had been in this game, 28 minutes. But it's like there's a line they don't think they can cross, and that like everything's going to crash and burn if they play Rob 25 or, Lord forbid, Brogdon over 32 or something like that. I don't know why he wasn't in late. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I guess you're sort of kind of going offense defense there, and they didn't really go in the offensive direction. They really held down with the Rob unit out there trying to, I guess, grind out the game, which is different than Mazzulla has handled things in the past. You would have thought he'd wanted offense and spacing and all the different things that we've talked about out there. But I don't mind it just because of the fact that we've wanted to see Rob involved. You finally get him in a crunch time, and he makes that big play on the alley-oop there alongside Derek White, who I thought had a pretty good game here with 11 assists, no turnovers. It worked out. I don't know if Brogdon would have shut things down and made all the right plays there. He gave them a ton in the minutes that he did play. It's the problem is Brandon Tatum in that spot with the offensive fouls.
It's not that when you don't have Smart in the game, because you're not closing with Brogdon, but when you don't have Smart in the game, and it should be Brogdon in there, and you have White as your point guard, even when Smart's in the game, too often he gives the ball up and gives
not this game.
No, I'm saying too often what he'll do in crunch time is give the ball to Tatum or Brown top of the key and get out of the way. That's even with Smart in. With White, there's no chance you're running an offense. None. Yeah. So every possession. And then the one horrible one was the one where they didn't get it into Jaylen Brown till 7 seconds left on the clock. They're futzing around with it. White dribbled for 12 seconds, gives it to Horford. He doesn't know what to do with it. Gives it to Brown, and he fouls Josh Richardson there. Good defense by Richardson, but Brown, plows right into him. That was a dreadful freaking possession. White did nothing. I'm not getting on him here, but it's like they didn't get into anything on that possession. And then every other one was just give it to Tatum top of the key and get out of the way, for the most part. So that's what happens when you have that, when you don't have a real point guard or a point guard who you're going to let run your offense. You're stuck with the ball in Tatum and Brown's hands, and they're just going to kind of go hero ball. Sometimes it works, but sometimes you get yourselves in trouble. But that's where they got in trouble in the second half, Bobby. They kind of came out and they stopped doing what they were doing, and it just turned into hero ball. I find it odd that I'm saying this, but it was too much Tatum and Brown again in this game. They got their numbers at the end, but just too much of those guys in the second half there, instead of kind of working and fighting for that, for better shots. They're taking them early in the clock, just kind of forcing a lot of hero ball shots from Tatum. And again, they're phenomenal players. They're going to get their numbers, and it's going to go in. But I don't know it helped them. It definitely didn't help them in the second half.
Yeah, and we've talked about Brown's diminishing playmaking. In that spot, it shows. I know the shot clock's running out, but in other moments
That's
down the
tough.
stretch
Tough
there,
spot.
in other moments down the stretch there, you're seeing the clock tick down, and these guys just sort of look up and have to make a last ditch effort there. The Spurs were well prepared to kind of draw them into some traps in the half court and get them in some difficult spots to score from. I thought they played pretty good defense on this one, especially in that second half. But the Celtics bailed them out. I don't think the Spurs were in great position to protect the rim in this game, and it was jump shot city in the second half. Both third and fourth quarters, they score fewer than 30 points there. This accumulated over the course of the entire second half. This wasn't just a couple plays or a lineup at the end of the game. It's their approach. They fall asleep. It started right after halftime. Just a horrendous start to the third quarter. They turn it off in an instant. And this has been a problem throughout this road trip, is their waning effort at times, and certainly the connectivity
all of it was bad.
Diminish.
The connectivity just is these sloppy, wait, are you here or are you there passes? Are you running or are you stopping? They couldn't get on the same page. They kind of had the vibe of like, guys who'd never played together on some of these, in some of these possessions. But again, it's just like I said, it's like you said, just hero ball, just letting guys get by you. Not switching, not helping. I mean, the Spurs I forget about just offense and the hero ball stuff in the third quarter. Spurs got easy looks. They were getting in the paint easily. And that's why Perk was crying for Rob. It's if these guys are going to let, you had that little moment, Bobby, right? That 2.5 minute stretch of double big starting lineup in the first half.
Yeah, right before halftime.
Right before halftime. And it was like, there it is. And, Rob's energy is really infectious there because he's moving all over the place. The threat of him is always there. Spurs did a good job trying to get him on switches and get him out to the top of the key, but he's still kind of there. And it's just kind of moving, and his ability to guard guys on the perimeter, which we saw him just lock up Romeo.
Even on that Richardson shot, he almost got him, but Richardson held up and got him
blocks
in the air.
The three, gets the whatever, but like you saw it working there, and you saw the defense, and you saw that vibe. Oh, like, oh my goodness, this is tough. And so then in the second half, just nobody was playing that type of defense. They're just kind of standing around. Guys are just running towards the basket, and that's, I think, why Perk starts crying for Rob. It's if these guys aren't going to stop them from getting there, at least have a deterrent waiting for them. And that's what they said last year. Rob covers up for the times where we do kind of let down a little bit or lapse. We know that we got the big guy back there to bail us out. When you don't have the bailout, you get these layup drills that you got, for portions of this game in Oklahoma City last week. When you're not putting up enough resistance and not moving well enough and swarming like you did last game, the guys on the perimeter and keeping them from getting into the paint as easily as they did. They got into there really easily. And Romeo, if he had a little bit more finesse, could have had 20-something points because he missed quite a few up at the rim, but he was kind of getting there. And I ended up finishing with a decent stat line because, he had a couple of putbacks and did score a couple of buckets late. But yeah, just that waning effort, Bobby. Here's the thing. You can have waning effort as long as you kind of clamp it down for money time, whenever you absolutely need it. But when you see the Celtics, these two games are a little. If this San Antonio team's missing half their team, and you let up just for a little bit, and then it's a dogfight the rest of the game. And Oklahoma City, you let up, and they're without their best player, and they beat the tar out of you. That means that the Celtics are a little bit more beatable than we thought they were.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly through some of these lineups. I mean, the defense,
because they should still be able to roll this team with like 12 good minutes. That's it. That's all you should need.
Yeah, for sure. And they did let the Spurs get downhill with relative ease. You saw it after that stretch I talked about out of halftime. Joe have a conversation with Jalen about Romeo beating him on one of those plays. And you had other moments throughout this half, whether it was offensive rebounds. Horford had a tough time with Zach Collins in there. I know he had a big play late, but that guy really dominated them in the paint. And even on the perimeter, you had Richardson breaking free for shots. You had even disconnectedness on that last play where Rob tied up Langford pretty good. If Langford hesitated and unleashed after Rob jumped. Maybe he could have gotten a decent look off there, but they still allow a wide open three to Sochan on that play.
Right.
On the
Not
other
great.
side.
Rob locked it down and everyone was standing around like, nice job, buddy. But like everyone forgot to do their job after that. And they still ended up with a better shot than you would have wanted to see, because that should have been a mad scramble and a heave at the basket with the way that, Rob played defense and blew up that entire possession there. So yeah, that wasn't great, Bobby. You're right.